All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the contributor meeting. I'm Remington. I'm your host. So let's get started. The first agenda topic is triaging and discussion, primary and secondary. So let's see, who was it last week? It was Jan and Michael. So do you guys want to talk a little bit about how it went this week?
Sure, I can talk about those two items since I added them. One is using LTS as the base image. It sounds like someone wants to be able to build their own Argo CD image. Suppose it's an old version and still get recent security updates, so they prefer an LTS base. I'm not sure why they can't just edit the Docker file, but I also don't really see a reason not to base on LTS. So if anyone has thoughts on that, I'd be interested to hear them.
Yeah, I think so once upon a time we used Debian, right? And like Debian stable, and it was very old, and they were also like ignoring certain fixing certain CVs within the images, and we decided to migrate to something else. And I think we discussed the LTS route once, and for some reason we decided against it and to follow like the rolling Ubuntu releases. But we can definitely reevaluate that, because I have seen that like the 2 point, which is a 2.2, is using a now unsupported version of Debian, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, I can wait and see if they agree that they could just edit the Docker file. But
I just found the issue that has a description of why. And I was just looking for it in background. I'm pretty sure I remember we had the discussion about it here. So yeah. But we'll have to read it. I won't be able to tell you right now like why we decided to not go with LTS but go with yeah. And maybe we can suggest one more thing. At least internally at Intuit, we needed we had the same requirement. We wanted to use different base, and basically our Docker file. Give me 1 second to double check. Yes, it has an argument called base image. So basically, they don't have to. They can rebuild it without even changing the Docker file. They can specify Docker argument base image and use whatever image they want. Does that make sense, Michael?
Yep, good point. I'll read that issue and link to it in a reply.
And I'm saying the suggestion, like, there is a little slightly more convenient way. They don't have to download and copy and edit this file. They can, they can download and use the same file, but instead of changing it, they can just specify Docker build argument called base image.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep. Okay, I'll respond to that. The second item I linked was someone's trying to make it easier to apply customized patches to Helm applications. So originally folks just wanted the values field to be, I guess, arbitrary YAML type. And then someone tried to implement it, realized that's difficult, and instead introduced a new string field so that you could apply a customized patch with a string of YAML, which would take precedence. And then I said, well, if we're going to do that, we should allow multiple iterations of customized patches. So that should be an array of strings. But I think we're getting really far away from what people originally wanted, which is just to customize patch YAML. So I'm wondering, are there any really hard blockers to just supporting arbitrary YAML in a values field, or potentially a new values YAML field? I know that Argo workflows often allows arbitrary types, but I don't know what kind of magic they have to implement to make that happen.
Maybe, can you validate my understanding? So they have values.yaml, basically the content of the values embedded in Argo CD application, right?
Yep.
And maybe they manage it using customize.
Yep.
I'm assuming they use customize, and that customize bundle a bunch of applications, and they want to patch content of those values, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then they cannot because it's a string right now, and they want to convert it into like something structured, right?
Yep, exactly.
Okay. At least I understood the use case. Now, okay, I do not know if we want to, but basically I was thinking that if we work on introducing this values field, if we thought about that use case, maybe we would just, I would not make values a string. I would just make it an object, I guess, and then it would be possible to apply any type of patch.
Yep. I
And
think that's
was it correct? It had like 20 thumbs ups already.
yeah, pretty popular. I think this is an old issue, and then someone tried to take a crack at it, but I think that their attempt misses, the problems that people are actually trying to solve. It overcomplicates the solution.
I was kind of thinking, maybe someone please stop me, like Jan usually does a good job. But one idea is to use the trick that container pod template uses. Basically, like in pod template in containers, you can define ports, and ports can be either string or integer. So we could make this change in Argo CRD, and we could say that values is either a string or object.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be like a very small breaking change. I mean, it would not be a breaking change and not so much code changes. So in theory, we can support it without, breaking changes. But yeah. And if I commit to do it, I would do it this way. Basically the same schema, but we will lose validation on that field because we will have to just remove that field from validation schema. It would be like value would be anything,
Right. Alex Collins is advocating for a new field, but I agree. I think it's reasonably safe to just expand what's accepted for the existing field.
It's like anyone thinks it's like a bad idea, or actually now it's like I guess anyone thinks it's a bad use case. Even before we jump into implementation, like should we? I'm voting to support it because it feels like this declarative way of managing applications, something we
Helm itself supports templating, right? So Helm itself supports templating of the charts. It's like Go templates, and values can be overridden. So if they declare it in such a fashion that they have a charts.yaml, values.yaml, and they also declare the templates .ppl files, and they can pass in the overrides on top of it. And then I don't understand what is the necessity of adding these additional fields.
I believe that they use customize to generate application YAMLs, and those application YAMLs eventually use Helm. And they want to, I'm just imagining that, so they have one base application, and that base application has a bunch of values. And then they want to override one of the values in one, I don't know, in one environment.
Customize also has something like a field from and to field path where we can mention the transformations.
But yeah, I mean, customize is kind of, it's really bad in parameterizing and templating. Like, patching is the simplest possible way. Yeah, so I guess when I described it, I realized it's kind of like it's an edge case. It's, you only want it if you use customize to manage applications that use Helm, which is like maybe not everyone does it, only few people. And that's why I think it's an argument against adding a field, because it would be, like we introduce yet another field into already big CRD. So yeah. And then, but it's not great because we have like a ton of such edge cases.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I'm also I mean, I'd be confused by values and extra values. So this is something that for me would be utterly confusing if I don't know the use case behind it.
If we change meaning of values and make it either string or object, would you be confused as well? Or is it less confusing?
I'd probably be confused because I don't use Helm. But yeah, so no, I think yeah, it's better than having an extra field.
I think if all of our docs stayed the same, except maybe one line that's like, hey, if you want this to be raw YAML, you can write it as raw YAML, then the same people who are currently using it won't be confused. And then every now and then when someone asks for the feature, we just point out, hey, there's another way.
Yeah, so we can just run a vote, we can get, kind of collect more opinions. And I want to implement it because I'm pretty sure it's like really easy to do, but I might be missing something. But if I'm not missing anything, I want to do it because it's such a small change and looks like unblock some good number of people.
I don't know if somebody looked at this. There is a plugin that's a Helm customized plugin that basically renders the chart and then applies customization. Did anybody look at this?
Yes, but I think this is it. It's kind of it's like they use customize to create a bunch of Argo CD applications, and those applications later on uses Helm. So it's like
this isn't a combination of customize and Helm. This is a combination of customize and application manifests.
Yes, and Helm is still there because I mean the values field is for Helm, but it's like.
But it could be anything consuming that field.
But it's on, yeah. I mean, right now it's on the Helm, like nothing else consumes.
Right. Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is what matters is that the field is currently a string and it needs to be something besides a string for customize to edit it. I mean, it just so happens that it's the Helm use case. Okay, I think this dev, if we wanted to see a proof of concept, I think that this dev is going to need help pointing to examples, because I already pointed out somewhere in Argo workflows that I thought showed how to do this, and it wasn't helpful. So more eyes on the PR and like helping this dev implement what we're talking about would be.
Okay, I'm responding right now. My opinion. I do not want any additional field, but I will propose to reuse the same field and ping Jan and JC. That people who I know might object. I don't want this person to re-implement the changes and we reject the PR. So sure. I'm going to just propose an enhancement and and ask him to wait for at least one more thumbs up from someone of maintainers.
Cool. Okay, that's all the items I had, and then Jan was also on triage.
Yeah, I was, but I wasn't. Sorry. I actually had some days of PTO, and then I have nothing to add.
No worries. Glad you got some rest.
But yeah, thanks for being so proactive, Michael, as the secondary. So I should only be primary when you're secondary in the future.
Cool.
All right, thanks, guys. So yeah, let's move on and pick next week's moderators. So first, we have any volunteers? Otherwise, we'll just go down the list.
I can be secondary.
Who's that speaking?
Yeah, it's Keith.
Oh, Keith, sorry.
Since I'm after you anyway.
Autumn. Oh, thanks. Your head wasn't popping up on Zoom, so I didn't see it. Thanks. And then did you volunteer for secondary or primary?
Secondary.
And any volunteers for primary?
I can take it this week.
Okay, that's you, Dan, right?
Yep. Dan Garfield.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Okay, moving on. Alex, it looks like you have a topic about reducing application set and Argo CD coupling.
Right. Yeah, so I think we spoke about this, that we have some issue. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't call it an issue. It's like, basically there is a chance, I think, to simplify how we release the process of releasing of Argo CD and application set, and we can improve end user experience. So right now we have this kind of implicit circular dependency between Argo CD and application set. So application set imports Argo CD code, Golang types, and then this code is used to eventually generate manifests, and then Argo CD bundle those manifests. And that means we have this strange set of, things we have to do to release Argo CD and application set. So for example, right now in 2.3, we had to first release candidate of Argo CD, and then application set bumps a version and kind of start pointing to Argo CD release candidate. And then now application set needs to have its own release, and then Argo CD will have
I think that may be a reason for the protogan failures colleagues of me and I have seen. Probably because now we vendor Argo CD. When application set has a dependency to Argo CD, and we do the vendoring right from the Go modules.
Yes,
I think it ends up in the vendor directory, and there was the failure was like shadowing of the application.proto. Okay, now it makes sense. I was wondering what was happening there. And
application set vendors in Argo CD it uses the application type, and I think probably also the project type. But the other thing I would note is that the application set controller also uses other parts of Argo CD beyond the type. It uses the Git client code. So it doesn't call the repo service directly. Instead, it uses the Git client code, like the git.go code. It also uses the Argo CD code that retrieves cluster secrets and the Argo CD code that retrieves repository credentials. So we aren't just vendoring, the application set controller isn't just vendoring in Argo CD for the type. It is also actually using Argo CD code itself for some of the capabilities of the application set controller. So we would presumably need to do something about that code as well if we wanted to remove that circular dependency. And
I feel like I think in this ticket I'm just proposing kind of the smallest possible step. What do you think if we just drop applications, if we stop using application spec, and application set controller would just trust blindly that whatever is in the template is a valid application, it would just have to, deserialize it into map, and that map is anything. And then validation still happens, but during the moment of application creation.
So I am not for that. But before we get to that, my issue is that because of the Argo CD code that the application set controller uses, I don't think that the change you're proposing would solve the issue. We would still need to do that same set of steps until we remove the fact that the application set controller is vendoring in Argo CD. The issue being that if Argo CD changes after the application set controller is released, like let's say you change the format of your cluster secrets or the format of your repository credential secrets, the code that the application set controller would be vendoring in would still be using the old Argo CD code for interacting with those objects. So we probably wouldn't discover that until it was too late, which would be bad.
I agree.
So
I think it's kind of the maybe we should consider just merge application set and Argo CD if they're already so tightly.
Another option would be to create a almost like a submodule for Argo CD and application set controller. So just move like the cluster secret code and the repository credential code into that submodule, and have Argo CD vendor in that submodule, and have the application set controller vendor in that submodule, so that they both have a dependency on a shared component rather than the application set controller needing to vendor in all of Argo CD.
Actually,
the problem is, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I just wanted to say I like this option. At least I think, before we continue, I think it's correct, right? It's correct that we want to keep application set code separate because it's easier, right, to develop it.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. Okay.
Yeah, but we probably also need to move the type into that submodule as well, which would probably be a bit more work, although it would have the advantage of, like, if other standalone independent projects wanted to consume the Argo CD type, they wouldn't need to vendor in the Argo CD types. They wouldn't need to vendor in all of Argo CD. They would just need to render in that submodule that contains a subset of the code. But yeah, that would be. It's not a perfect solution, but there are some trade-offs. But yeah, that's how I could see us removing the dependency on the code base itself, but still ensuring that when updates are made to that code, like let's say you wanted to change the cluster repository, sorry, the Git repository secret format, that code would then percolate into both Argo CD and application set simultaneously without the need to do the dance at release time of putting out release candidates and stuff like that.
If we move types into submodule, we would solve another frequent complaint. People who are trying to vendor Argo CD right now, they have to vendor Kubernetes as well. And
yes, true.
Yeah, it's a problem as well.
I'm not sure that I agree that keeping separate repos is actually easier to develop, though. Like, I get that it's kind of nice to see the code in separate places, but by having them in separate places, you have to have developers who are comfortable using Git submodules. You have to have 2 separate CIs, 2 separate issues pages of PRs. I mean, if we're really providing first-class support for application set, then I think that it makes sense to maintain it in the same place.
Yeah.
By the same people.
I would agree with that. And
there are trade-offs both ways. Sorry, go ahead.
It will slow down. I'm 100% sure. Like, upset will start moving slower if we merge it, but maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's fine.
Yeah.
Kind of, but like there are PRs and discussions on issues that aren't really getting attention because it's on a different repo. So it'll move slower in the sense of release cadence, but maybe not so much in the ability to actually incorporate contributions.
That makes sense to me as well. So +1 to that idea of bringing application set inside Argo CD repo. If it's the same solution, if it's part of the core, I think it makes sense to consider it as part of the application.
My question is regarding a little bit of future plan regarding, do we want adding the additional tab on the UI for the application set?
Yes.
So if that is a plan, I think it's making more sense to treat that as the one product going on. So I also support that idea to avoid other complications.
Yeah,
I just want to raise one issue that's not directly related to that. I wanted to bring that up already, but didn't until now. So I think we also should like refactor our code base, like how things are laid out in the repository, because right now it's a huge mess, right? I mean, you look at the top level directory and it's like, what is all this, right? So I think we when we decide to move in application set, we probably should move things around a little, like I mean that will definitely break some, I don't know, maybe whether it breaks Git blaming or something like that. I'm not sure how that would work out, but it's something we really should consider, I think.
Yeah, and I wanted to highlight that issue because it feels like it will be a pain. It's pain right now, to do this dance, like bump versions and have giant pull requests in like application set first and then in Argo CD. So basically, I think it's like a tech dev we should pay sooner than later. So maybe we can work on it in the next 2.4 release. I mean, we can postpone it again. It's not like it's super urgent, but I'm pretty sure we're going to lose several days during 2.4 because there will be some changes in application set, and then we kind of have like two teams right now, and like people who are mostly active in Argo CD and people who are mostly active in application set, and then Argo CD people would have to ping application set people, wait for them, and then actually no, it's other way around. Application set will be forced to wait for Argo CD release candidate, and then once it's published, Argo CD.
Yeah, that kind of the issue. I think that everyone agrees that it's not a great. It is what we have is a solution, but it's not a great solution because it does require a lot of moving parts to be kept in sync, which is never a good thing. I'm sure that we all have better things to do than babysitting, YAML manifests or babysitting Git tags in order to make sure that everything works. So yeah, I'm for a change that would either integrate the code or reduce the coupling.
Yeah. I have I mean, maybe not directly like in this topic, but in a way I'm just thinking about the future of the application set. So right now it's more generating the application object itself. But application object for the Argo CD context has additional stuff like project, like we are having the RBAC, all those things, which also additional CRD resources managed by Argo CD. I mean, merging in the same place maybe open up a new opportunity to enable the application set to do a little bit more, to making the whole experience to be easier. Means you can generate several applications, but they should still belong to the different project. And maybe you can create that project on the fly during that rendering, and to streamline the operational process, which might be another small consideration to me to merge it, to keep things simple. Just my 2 cents.
I feel like I agree. I think I proposed this, reduce coupling because I felt like it's easy to do and we can get it quickly. Yeah. But if we're going to merge, I kind of forgot that we discussed previously that as soon as Argo CD needs to have API for application set. That means Argo CD will have to start vendoring application set. And at this point, it's like kind of, we think we want to merge, and there is no need to do this kind of intermediate step to reduce coupling. Instead, just merge two projects.
Yeah, no issues there for me. And yeah, it would be a matter of moving the code in, moving the Kubernetes manifests in, setting up the EDE tests and unit tests to make sure that they still work with the merged repo.
Yeah.
And then yeah, updating some package imports probably. But yeah, that would be the work that would be required.
And that, I mean, we will cut some work as well, right? We will have one less image to maintain, you know, yeah. No need to scan, yeah, no need to have separate sneak scans for it and so on. Cool, then I will close this issue then. And then create another one to just merge Argo's application set into Argo CD. And I agree with Jan, we should use it as an opportunity to refactor it.
Sweet.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Alec. All right, yeah, so moving on to, looks like the last topic. Regina, it looks like you have a issue regarding exposing the health check code in the UI.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah. Hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Yeah, so I saw this issue. I was interested in working on it. I just wanted to see if there were like any additional like requirements, if it's still a feature that's wanted, and any requirements on one thing was if a user doesn't have access to view the Argo CD custom resources, they won't be able to view custom health checks. If that like is an intended feature, I discuss this issue in general.
I'm pretty sure it's useful feature. I know that like at some point, Pasha was from, you know, Pasha from CodeFresh, he was working on a draft for Argo CD settings view page. So at least it would help administrators to see the settings in the UI, and they don't need to go to, they won't have to go to Argo CD, like, you know, YAML that configures it. So basically, I think there is no doubt it's a useful feature. There are a bunch of open questions. Like, I don't know, should it be admin kind of focused UI, or is it, you know, for end users? Maybe health check is useful for both, like both administrators and end users needs to see it.
Any knowledge about what it should be? So.
I'm like just rereading what this person wrote. I think he is end user. He wants to see, you know, like he just wants to see if he has an unhealthy resource, and then it's not really clear why is it not healthy, and you want to kind of look at the Lua script and see and kind of guess what is going on with the script. To be honest, I would do it in 2 steps. I feel like admins must see it, and maybe it could be kind of not the perfect experience if like end user need to go to settings page, search for CRD, and then search for health check, but it's maybe good enough. You know, maybe there is no need to have it in front on the application details page. And I think it basically, admins would definitely benefit from it. And then if we implement the settings view page for administrators, and then we can see if developers still insist on, you know, health check viewing health check in the application details page. So basically, yeah, if we convert this issue into like settings view page and make sure this settings view page at least has resource customizations, that I think seems to be not so questionable and maybe enough for end users as well. That's my opinion.
At the bottom, it says display the health code check for a specific object on the events tab or a separate, like a new health checks tab. Do you have an opinion on that? Like, should it be there?
This is, I think it might be there, but I think it's like step 2 in my opinion, because if, if we do it there, then we must introduce yet another RBAC rule, I guess, because it's not safe to, maybe someone wants to keep health check implementation in secret. Or I don't know, what if there is a vendor company that, they treat this Lua script as a proprietary code. So it's, we don't want to just blindly show it. Actually, same thing in administrate. Okay, yeah, I was trying to find, the smallest possible step we can do to at least, deliver something. And I felt like administrators, settings view page is something we should have built, from beginning. It's like, as administrator, I feel like I need it because I have to periodically jump and, into a repo that has a bunch of YAMLs for Argo CD and try to understand like what is there, like what's configured. And this proposal, I think, is more questionable. Like this, he's asking, show it in the, developer UI, basically in the application details page. Yeah, and I feel like it's maybe a good proposal, but we don't even have a bare minimum yet. So I would build it first. And then ask him like, are you okay to just jump back and forth? Or you really feel like you want this health check? And if yes, then we will have to think about introducing yet another RBAC check, or maybe reuse view, existing view action. Yeah, I feel kind of scared to jump straight to this final state.
Suggesting it should be in the admin settings page as like its own tab, like a health checks tab, or somewhere else.
I mean, right now we don't have this page at all. I think maybe we have some settings, but they don't. I'm pretty sure there is no. Okay, yeah. I mean, right now we have a bunch of pages. So we have settings page, and it has repository certificates, and I guess resource customizations page is missing. So if we introduce resource customizations, okay, and I'm I'm almost, the RBAC question is still there, right? Who is allowed to see resource customizations? Is it safe to show it to everyone, or or not everyone? And
by the way, Alex, do we have APIs ready to provide this type of information to be consumed in the UI?
Okay, no, we don't.
Okay.
Another question.
Okay, so basically, maybe settings page is the same level of complexity. It's like if we have this new page, then we need new set of APIs, and we also need to have RBAC, and then adding additional tab in the application details page. It's like just a cherry on top of a cake. So it will not be that hard decision because it's like a minor thing. So it sounds like it kind of, I mean, looks like a good feature, and we will not have to do almost no extra work to have it in the next to events tab, because if we build a new API, blah, 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 and then a new RBAC, for administrators, the same API is going to work for end users with the same RBAC model. Yep. I guess it's
One that
and it's
wants
good.
to.
This is it doesn't. It's like easy to work on this feature in parallel. You know, if you like it, and then I would not call it like the first priority. We have this security and CVs, and but it it will be really easy to review that code and just work on that feature in parallel, because it's a new additional API, new additional UI. No need to unlikely you will have merge conflicts with anyone else. Yeah.
Wants to help out with this, let me know, because I'm not as strong on APIs, but front end I can do. But just let me know.
Okay, and this is, I think it deserves, I mean, it's not good first issue, maybe help needed label. I will at least I should add it there. Yeah, it's like, I guess it doesn't require a bunch of discussions. It's like just matter of, we just need to build it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Regina. Was that all you had for this topic? I'm gonna assume yes. All right. Does anybody have any last minute topics? We're getting close to the end, but if anybody has a quick one.
Maybe just update about 2.3 release. It's been kind of delayed, but at least it's been running internally at Intuit for like a few days. We found one kind of change in behavior, but it doesn't so far. I think it's not a bug. We're just validating it is really not a bug, and yeah. So just one of our internal users got affected, but it's because they're doing something strange. It's not because of a bug. And so, yeah, and I guess we just waiting for, I didn't check, to be honest, recently, like we need to finish this application set upgrade. I think there is open pull request in application set to bump Argo CD. So as soon as it's merged, we will update application set version in Argo CD, and finally I think we can create release. So basically that's the, like, we just have two more things to do. Validate that one, that bug is not a bug, and update application set. That's it. Quick update.
Cool. Thanks, Alex. All right. Yeah. So if there's no more topics, we'll call it a day for this week, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.